Welcome to this explainer. I speak to you today not just as your host, but as a weary survivor. I'm a solemn historian who actually witnessed the tragic, slow-motion collapse of a truly golden civilization. So listen closely, because we're diving into the mythic chronicles of Mathemystia. It was a majestic empire, and its rise, its corruption, its destruction, and eventually its heavenly rebirth were all literally governed by the absolute laws of logic.
You see, the absolute law of our cosmos was wonderfully simple. All reality is written in the equation eternal. And in our ancient world, this wasn't just some poetic metaphor, It was the literal physical foundation. We lived in a mystical realm where sweeping aerial shots would reveal giant, floating mathematical monoliths hovering right there in the sky. And glowing celestial energy flowed just like water. At the very heart of all this were the sacred pearls, these stunning divine artifacts that kept perfect cosmic harmony across the entire empire.
Chapter 1. The Golden Age and the Pythonites. During our early days, to protect that equation eternal, Mathemystia was guarded by some truly noble warriors.
Which brings us to Chapter 2, the deception and the fall. You see, our tranquil Golden Age was about to be violently shattered. And the crazy part? It didn't start with an invading army, but with beings who claimed they just needed sanctuary.
But soon enough, the so-called refugees shed their disguises. On one side, we had our protectors, the Pythonites. They were anchored in pure geometric harmony and ancient wisdom, radiating this beautiful, glowing emerald light. On the other side stood the dragons. They were ruthless manipulators of chaos, defined by jagged ruby scales, thick black smoke, and dark volcanic shadows. It was a brutal, heartbreaking clash between the peaceful clarity of mathematical balance and the flickering, deceptive red light of the dragons.
Just look at the timeline of this tragedy. From the very first century of their arrival to the 3rd century of ultimate betrayal, the apocalyptic war just erupted. By the 5th century, our entire world was ending. Picture a vast, sweeping camera movement over the tragic scale of this battlefield. Giant equation storms were tearing the sky apart, red lightning cracking everywhere, and the slow motion, incredibly tragic beauty of massive sacred temples collapsing. The mathematical foundations of the empire were literally crumbling into dust right before our eyes.
Chapter 3. Unlocking the Ancient Gates. The only path left to our salvation required heroic, pure intelligence. To save his dying people and access the sacred artifacts we desperately needed to fight back, our Pythonite leader had to journey to the divine border gates. Now, as he approached the decimal pearl, the very air shifted. Imagine a futuristic grid of neon cyan pulsing violently all around him. This unstable, chaotic precision required the pure logic of mathematics to tame it. The heavy chains on these gates could only be broken by mastering magical mathematical puzzles, designed to prove your worth to the cosmos itself. Every solution was a literal key.
The first magical lock materialized right in the air. 5x minus 12 equals 18. Now remember, dragons absolutely hate balance, but we revere it. To banish the shadows, our leader had to isolate the truth, which is the variable x. First, he added 12 to both sides, pushing that darkness away, which leaves us with 5x equals 30. Then, to restore full balance, he divided that glowing neon energy by 5. And there it is, the truth is isolated, x equals 6. By performing these clear, step-by-step logic isolations, the clear labels of variable isolation shifted in the air and the gate shattered. Solving an equation here wasn't just math, it was a literal, heroic act of balance.
Moving on to Chapter 4, the Temple of Logic.
He then stepped into these ancient obsidian ruins, where swirling golden embers and magical gravity distortions were making massive stones just float effortlessly in the air. The high contrast between the dark ruins and the radiant magical energy flows was breathtaking. The second glowing trial appeared, 2 times the quantity of x plus 4 equals 24. Now, instead of meeting chaos with more chaos, he elegantly pierced the outer barrier by dividing both realms by 2 right off the bat. This instantly yielded x plus 4 equals 12. So simple, right? Then he calmly subtracted 4 to isolate the truth, leaving x equals 8. And just like that, the celestial energy flowed freely as the logic was proven.
But then came the final legendary trial, etched in glowing fire, x squared equals 100. To unravel this massive concentration of power, he applied the square root to both sides. But here's the catch. The magic of algebra absolutely demands respect for dual truths. To balance this equation, x could be 10, sure, but it could also be negative 10. By acknowledging both truths, the obsidian floor suddenly illuminated with vast, shifting geometric patterns, recognizing his ultimate mastery.
100. In our ancient world, this wasn't just some random number echoing in the void. No way! It was a perfect square. It was a profound mathematical anchor, a literal foundation stone of our cosmic architecture that was holding reality intact.
This brings us to Chapter 5, Judgment of God Maths.
Unlocking those gates and claiming the pearls finally gave our leader the power to fight, which triggered the final tragic phase of the war. It was a cinematic clash. Massive serpent transformations colliding with endless brutal waves of volcanic dragonfire, all under a cold silver moonlight. If you look closely into extreme close-ups of our leader's eyes, you can see the silent grief, the absolute, crushing exhaustion of a civilization pushed to the very brink of annihilation. And just when the dark skies threatened to become eternal and the sacrifice seemed simply too great, the heavens actually split open.
God Maths descended. It arrived in these breathtaking cinematic rays of golden light. And when this divine celestial force spoke, its deep cosmic echo instantly silenced the raging battlefield. Because our Pythonite leader had proven his pure logic in the temple, this ultimate authority arrived to restore cosmic equilibrium and pass its final judgment.
Chapter 6, Rebirth of the Balance.
With absolute truth restored, the Dragon of Chaos fell. The dark shadows finally dissipated, and our geometric skyline glowed with radiant, divine, magical energy once more. Floating lights spontaneously illuminated the repaired temples, and the sacred pearls shined together in perfect, beautiful harmony. But you know, the most vital note of this solemn oral history is this. Our exhausted, yet victorious leader handed the quantities pearl, the literal magic of algebra itself, down to us, to humanity.
A giant, glowing equation appeared across the peaceful night sky, burning this ultimate lesson into the stars themselves. Balance is the foundation of all reality. Whether you're fighting mythical dragons or just balancing an algebraic equation on paper, the law is completely eternal. What you do to one side, you must always do to the other.
The gates of Mathemystia are now open, and this forbidden knowledge has been passed down directly to you. So now that you hold these mathematical keys, these glowing tools of logic and cosmic balance, what ancient gates in your own life will you unlock?